After the second battle, and after the windmill had collapsed once again, Boxer was the first to set out gathering stones and rebuilding. There were no muscles in the entire farm like his, nor hearts with resolve like his. Yet the days began to show their cruelty upon him. He started breathing heavily and walking more slowly, but whenever someone advised him to rest, he would shake his huge head and say his favorite phrase, "I will work harder." Heavy winter months passed, followed by cold spring winds. Along with them came the celebration of new piglets being born. Napoleon began to appear rarely before the animals, always surrounded by rings of fierce dogs. Squealer would always come out to deliver good news about increases and successes no one could actually feel, yet he narrated them in such ornate style that lies seemed true. As for Boxer, when illness overwhelmed him and he collapsed, the old pig Squealer came and told everyone that Napoleon had arranged to send him to the human hospital, in appreciation for his devotion to work. The animals were happy, despite their worry, thinking their kind master would return him safe and sound. But when the cart that carried Boxer stopped at the gate, Benjamin, the wise old donkey, read the words written on it and shouted, "Cows and sheep, this is not a doctor's cart, it is a butcher's cart and a slaughter hook." They all tried to catch up, called out Boxer's name to wake him, but he was too exhausted even to turn his head. And thus he left their lives. The strongest body and the truest heart on the farm ended up in the slaughterhouse. Later, Squealer came out to give a speech, saying that the doctor had bought the butcher's old cart and that they misunderstood. He added that Boxer died in the hospital, honored, and that Napoleon sent them a case of whiskey, which he bought with Boxer's life, for them to drink to his memory. Amid hesitant tears and hearts that insisted on believing what they wanted, all returned to their heavy labor. Only Benjamin remained, looking at the ground with his sad eyes, realizing in deep silence that everything was now run by the same hand that had dealt death to Boxer, and that pretty words were nothing but a black veil covering the corpses of butchered dreams.
In this chapter, George Orwell clearly shines the light on the stage at which power becomes absolute, and the people become so drained that they can no longer even doubt. Here, Boxer obviously symbolizes the simple working class that ties its moral worth only to its ability to work, possessing no political awareness to protect it from exploitation. Orwell makes Boxer's tragedy double, not only because his leaders deceived him and sold him to the slaughter while he thought they were saving him, but also because Boxer himself never questioned, never asked, never tried to see the truth despite all the signs. He preferred to cling to the slogan, "I will work harder," even as his body was collapsing, as if fleeing from confronting the truth through work, which made him the perfect victim for power. And here we see how totalitarian regimes used blind loyalty as a tool of control. Boxer was not led by military force alone, but by internal chains he forged himself out of naive faith, which made him walk with his own feet to his death, reassured. Orwell presents us with this image as a stark warning. Tyranny does not only need guns, but hearts that believe lies until the very end. Then Napoleon and Squealer come to present the final scene of the farce. They sell Boxer to the butcher, then convince the animals that the cart was for the hospital, and that the leader used the money from selling Boxer to buy them a case of whiskey to honor him. This is the peak of propaganda, turning the corpse of a slaughtered dream into a celebration scene. So the tyrant ensures his victims continue walking behind him joyfully. The symbolism here is brutally clear. Boxer is the millions of peasants and workers literally consumed by the Soviet system in the projects of collective industrialization and the Gulag camps. Squealer's lies are the official newspapers that shaped economic collapse and massacres into phrases of victory and a bright future. And Napoleon is any dictator who raises grand slogans to build his glory on the backs of those who trust him. In this chapter, Orwell reaches the height of his condemnation of oppressive systems, when tyrants not only deceive the masses and drain them, but also make them celebrate the selling of their dreams and their flesh, thinking it is victory or loyalty or heroism.